What's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Daft Previews, and today I'm going to take you through a WNBA player prop preview for the Indiana Fever versus Chicago Sky in the WNBA. Now, if it's your first time checking out the channel, I encourage you to subscribe because I do this every single day. I share my screen, we go through Outlier, we talk about all the key players, their matchups, we go through form lines, we talk about the things I like, the things that I don't, and I do all this to give you all the information that you need to make the best bets possible. Now, today was my first run at the WNBA. Ended up on 4 different picks. I ended up 2-2. We cashed on Brianna Jones over 11.5 points and John Curl Jones over 14.5 points. Both of those players were plus 100. So 2-2 day, we pretty much broke even. Easily could have been a 3-1 day. I think we had Collier for over rebounds and assists, and we got hooked. Had we played her rebounds, which was a plus money play, easy 3-1 day, couple of units profit there, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. But we're going to jump into it. We've got the one game in the WNBA, so I'll go through a lot more players to give you a more in-depth preview of all these different props. As I always do, I ask that you leave me some comments, give me your thoughts, your insights. I'm no expert at this. I'm just a guy who likes creating content and presenting the data for you all. But without further ado, let's go. All right, we're straight into Outlier. As I said, only one game. It's a very early game. You can see it on the screen here. It's a 2 a.m. start for me, so I'm not going to get up to watch this one. Hopefully, I'll wake up to some green in my sportsbook. It's the Fever versus the Sky. In terms of the odds, the Indiana Fever are plus 3.5 underdogs. So expecting a tight game in this one. Talking a bit about the Chicago Sky, they're looking for their third road win to get above 500. They are 2-1 straight up on the road so far this season. Players to look out for: Marina Mabry, averaging 17 points and almost 7 rebounds. Dana Evans, averaging 12.5 points and just over 1 rebound. Elizabeth Sky is a third double-digit scorer. And we've got Angel Reese. She goes 8 boards per game. So really interested to see how this one plays out. I know Reese and Caitlin Clark got their own little thing going on, so there should be a lot of eyes on this game and a lot of attention. Talking about the Indiana Fever, they need a win. They're 1-8 so far this season. They're 0-4 straight up at home. I see key player there is Caitlin Clark, averaging almost 18 points and almost 7 assists. Kelsey Mitchell, 14 points and just over a rebound. Aaliyah Boston, third double-digit scorer. And Alyssa Smith, she's grabbing a whole lot of boards, almost 7 per game. So looking at the injury report, the Chicago Sky don't have any players on that report. The Fever, they will be out without, tough name, Temi Fagbenle. Damn, I butchered that one. But she's out with a foot injury. And Demiris Dantas due to a knee injury. My gosh. Hardest thing I'm going to find with the WNBA, it's not getting the bets, it's going to be pronouncing these names. In terms of the prediction, I read a couple of reports on this one, and the Indiana Fever, and at points, that's quite a good look when you consider that this is a very early start. So the game's nice and early, and usually that leads to some sloppy play. The Fever, you could say that they're due for a good performance at home. However, the Fever, they do continue to play subpar both ends of the court. Everyone's struggling outside of Clark, really. They've also failed to cover the line in 3 straight games. The Chicago Sky have been the better team this season. They're 4-2 against the spread so far. So I probably have to lean to the Sky. But the good thing is, I don't bet sides. So I think this game's going to be close. The Sky should win in a close game, but close game means we could potentially avoid a blowout, which is ideal for us. So let's talk about these player props. I'll butcher some more names, and then we'll see where we end up. So we'll start with this team from Chicago first. I'll let Outlier tell us the best props available for each player. So let's check out with Diamond DeShields. That can't be her real name, right? Diamond DeShields? Get the fuck out of here. All right, let's look at Diamond DeShields. So looks like she must be a rookie because she's got no data going back 10 games. She's only got 2024 data. If we filter things by hit rates, the only consistent hit rate we're seeing from this young lady is an under in her rebounds. Under 2.4 boards. It's cashing 4 out of 5 games this season. It's a plus money play. In terms of the matchup, the Indiana team, they're middle of the pack in terms of rebounds allowed. But man, I wouldn't feel confident betting on anyone under 2.5 rebounds. But look, Diamond DeShields, she is a guard playing 20 minutes a night. So the minutes aren't very high. obviously Hash is rebound number 2 well. 2.4 is an average on this season, but going under in 4 out of her last 5. So if you're someone who bets on hit rate, then this is a great play. But I think it's a real sweaty bet. I think anyone under 2.5 is a real risky play. Let's check out our points pop real quick. 9.5. She's cashed this in 2 out of 5 games. Her last 3, she's gone under. First games where she did cover 9.5 up against both games up against Dallas. And she took 12 shots, made 7 of them 58% from the field. In her last 3, been shooting horribly. 1 from 6, 1 from 8, and then 1 from 8. Although she is up against an Indiana team who gives it the most points in this league. So, yeah, Indiana great defensively, but Diamond DeShield's not necessarily playing too well at the moment. So I don't know if I could take the under on that. And the last look is on assists. So the matchup's good. The Fever allow the 3rd or 4th most assists out of all 12 teams. She's cashed this line in 3 out of 5 games. Odds leaning to the over here, minus 160. So I'd probably have to lean that way, but I don't think that's a bet that I'm willing to take. So I have to pass on Diamond DeShields. Let's have a look at Dana Evans now. Using the same types of filters, what do we see? So the under 4.5 out of all of her props has the best hit rate over the last 5, last 10, last 20, and on this season. So let's look at that. This is pretty juiced though, minus 166. So her assists lines at 4.5. She's averaging 3.8 this season. She's gone under in 4 straight games. So, yeah, and look, up against Indiana, they do give up some assists. So I can see why this line's at 4.5. Looking at how, I don't know if I could take a straight bet on this, to be honest. My bad, lost my train of thought. I just had to pause recording, come back. Forgot where I was up to, but Dana Evans, yeah, I think the line is just about right, to be honest. I wouldn't say to bet the over or the under. I think over 3.5 would probably be ideal, but that's pretty juiced, just at minus 180, so it could be a good parlay look. But the under 4.5, not something I'm willing to mess with, so we'll pass on that. Well, let's take a look at her points line. 12.5. So she's a consistent young lady, this one. She's averaging 13 points this season. She's covered this in 3 straight games, 3 out of 5, up against the Indiana Fever, who give up the most points in the league. So this is quite promising. Head-to-head matchups against the Fever, though. She's covered in 2 out of her last 4. Her last 2, only 6 and 5 points, but these were last season. The Fever were a trash team, though. So, based on this season, though, she has been quite consistent. So in these games, she went under 7 and 10 points. This season, where she 7 and 10 attempts. This season, she's averaging 11.7 attempts. So the attempts have been much higher. So she's really getting after it. This is one where I probably lean to the over. It's a plus money play. 12.5. Might be able to find it 11.5 somewhere. But this is going to go on my short list of leans. Just because it makes my leans doesn't mean I'll bet on it, but we'll see where I land. So that's Dana Evans' points. So I don't mind that. So look at a 3-pointers made. 1.5 is the line. She's cashed in 4 out of 6 games this year. The Fever, they allow the 3rd most 3-pointers in the league. And so Evans, 4.3 attempts per game, shooting at 40%. So if we need her to bank on 2 of these, we need her to be taking at least 5 attempts. And she's taken 5 attempts in 3 out of 6 games. So I feel like that line is just about right. Minus 136, not something that I'm willing to play. But Dana Evans, I don't mind the points prop there. Let's go. All right, who else we got? Marina Mabry. God damn, I got no idea. But we're seeing points plus assists showing up here. It's got a great record so far this season. Great record in head-to-head matchups. So this could be a look. Marina Mabry. So she's cashed in 4 out of her last 5 games. On the season, 5 out of her last 6. So she's averaging 22.5 points plus assists. And she's up against a team that allows the most points and the 4th most assists on the season. So that's a real good look. If you look at head-to-head matchup, she's played the Fever 4 times. She's averaging 28.5 points plus assists in those games. So once again, this is looking great. I can't see how this doesn't lose, but I'll add it to my short list. I'll investigate it, and we'll see where I land. If you want to see my final bets, sign up to my Winnable. It's completely free, and you'll get notified when the bets are placed. So these are just her points props now. 4 out of 6 on the season and 2 from 4. So it's the points prop is okay, but I think it's the combination of points plus assists which gets her over the line. If we look at her assist prop, it's 4.5 at -150. She's hit that in 3 out of 6 games this season and 2 out of 4 games against the Fever. So I think it's the combination of the points plus assists that take her over the mark and give her such a good hit rate. So yeah, I'll probably have to take a look at that. But breaking down her individual props, probably not something I want to toy with. Her 3-pointers made prop, though, 2.5, -155 to the over, 4 out of her last 6. So she is averaging 3.1 in this season. She's taking on average 8 attempts per game, and she's shooting 40% from the field. So if she gets 8 attempts, this is going to cash. But this is juiced to the over, -155. For those of you who like daily fantasy, then I think that's a good look in terms of the fantasy props. So that's a nice little lean there. Next up, let's go through Angel Reese. Greasy Reese. Now, if we have a look at the best hit rates, we've got an over in her points and rebounds, but an under in her PRA, both connecting quite well. So I think what we should do is just go through each of her individual props. Now, Angel Reese, let's start with her points. 11.5 is the line. The last 6 games she's covered on, she's averaging 11 points per game. Yet to us the Fever. So first matchup here up against Caitlin Clark and co. She's only shooting 38% from the field, which is not good. Almost 10 attempts. Does get to the free throw line as well, but 67% from the field. So I'm not really loving the points prop there for Angel Reese. Let's check out our rebounds. 4 out of her last 6 games she's gone over, averaging 8.1 rebounds per game. The ranking 6th in the league in rebounds allowed, so which is right in the middle. So for this particular one, I don't hate it. I don't love it. So with Angel Reese, I'm not too sure where to go with this one. I probably, 7.5. The odds are favoring the over, but yeah, I'm not loving it, to be honest. So no Angel Reese plays for me. I'll have to pass on that. Let's take a look at Elizabeth Williams. All right, if we're going on hit rates, points have been cashing quite well this season. 10.5 is her line. She's averaging 12 points per game. 4 of her last 6 games, she's covered this line. What do we see? 31 minutes a night. So she's got pretty consistent game time. Doesn't shoot any threes. So all this is happening within the paint. 51% from the field, 9 average attempts. Does get the free throw line pretty well too. So it does look like a pretty decent play at 10.5. One thing I have noticed just clicking through some other pages is that the Indiana Fever, they actually allow the fewest points in the paint per game. They allow the most points, but the fewest points in the paint per game, which means they're getting scorched outside. So I'd really be interested to see who from the not from the Chicago Sky, is probably going to torch them from outside. And it's not going to be Elizabeth Williams. So I'm just going to take a look. Let's go to the 3-point prop just so I can get an idea of who's banging from deep. So we've got Mabry, her line's at 2.5. So it must be a good matchup for her to get some buckets. Dana Evans, 1.5 is her line. So she could scorch them. And they just happen to be the 2 girls that I have as leans, Evans and Mabry. All right, so I got a pretty good look. Nice. All right, so I'll pass on Elizabeth Williams, although her numbers do look good. Her profile, probably not the one that I want to see. So let's take a look at sweet old Caitlin Clark. Apparently, the only one who can produce on the offensive end. Now, looking at the Chicago defense, what usually works for me is if I look at PRA first, it'll tell me where they rank in the major categories. So Chicago, pretty good defensively. 4th fewest points. They allow fewest assists, but they're not a great rebounding team. They allow the 2nd most rebounds in the league. So someone from this Indiana team, we could look at them for rebounds perhaps. Walk through these players. Let's start with Caitlin Clark. Her points prop, 20.5 points per game is the line. She's covered this in only 3 out of her last 9 games, averaging 17.5 per 17.5 this season. If we muck around with home games, we can see she's played 4 home games. She's gone over this line once out of her last 4. What's shooting? Hang on, that's just home. On the season, what are her splits? 13.6 attempts, 38% from the field. She's making 2.73 pointers from 8.3 attempts. So in the points prop, I'm probably a little bit undecided on that. Looking at a 3-point line, it's over the 2.5 is -200, which is crazy. She's hit in 5 out of her last 9 games, though. 8.3 attempts is pretty decent, but she needs to shoot a better percentage if she's going to cover 3 at a more consistent rate. Chicago Sky also allow the second fewest three-pointers made on the season. So that leaves me a little bit hesitant to Caitlin Clark points. So I'm going to have to pass on the points there. Let's have a look at her rebounds. That line's at 5.5. She's cashed in 4 out of her last 9 games. 3 straight games she's gone under. 33 minutes a night, which is not bad. Chicago allow a lot of rebounds, but I don't know if it's going to be Caitlin Clark who bags them all. So we'll have a look for any other Indiana bigs, perhaps. Her assist line is at 6.5. She's averaging 6.5 on the season. 5 out of her last 9 games she has covered. But this Chicago team allows the fewest assists. Just had to pause recording and come back. We've got a special guest here. This is the reason why I need to get out of the hood, ladies and gents. But I'm going to be joining for the rest of this video because that's the only way I'm going to be able to get this content out. So, all right. So we're discussing Caitlin Clark and looking at her assists. Look, 6.5 is an average. Line's at 6.5. She has been cashing well as of late. But in terms of assists, this is the most difficult matchup you can get for her. Anyway, the Chicago Sky, they allow the fewest assists in the WNBA by a pretty considerable margin. So defensively, they are great. So I'd be a little bit cautious around that. But even I had a closer look at the three-pointers and stuff. The Chicago allow the fewest three-pointers made per game as well at only 5.8, and the fewest attempts, only 18 attempts. So, yeah, pretty touch up here for Caitlin Clark. So I'm not loving what I'm seeing. If anything, I believe the PRA might be a good look, purely because for Black Caitlin Clark, their numbers could be a little bit inflated due to the public falling in love with her. So I think the under 32.5 PRA could be a good look. Or potentially we could just look at the under in points and assists. But, yeah, depending on markets that are available, rebound numbers aren't terrific either. I know one of my sportsbook points and assists is the only look. So that's probably the way that I'd be leaning, but don't necessarily want to bet an under on anybody, but that's how I'd be leaning for Caitlin Clark. Yeah, you can take photos.
This one?
Yeah, you can take photos.
Thank you. Can you fix it?
Okay, 1 second. Let me pause this. All right, so next up, we're looking at Aaliyah Boston. Now, her hit rates, the best props here are actually unders. Under in her points, under in her rebounds, believe it or not. Checking out the points, 12.5 for Aaliyah Boston. She's gone under this number in 7 out of 9 games. Does have a difficult matchup here as the Chicago Sky allow the 4th fewest points. So the under, I don't mind. She's averaging 11 points per game. Line set at 12.5. She's getting 26 minutes. 10.3 as an average. The game she's covered, both of them were up against the LA Sparks. So outside of the LA Sparks, she's gone under in all of these games. So I don't mind that play for Aaliyah Boston. The under doesn't look too bad. And if we look at her rebound, 7.5 is the line. She's cashed this in only 2 out of 9 games. So the under is a pretty good look here too, by the looks of it. I'm going to have to edit that shit out. All right, so for the boards, for Aaliyah Boston, up against the Sky, she's gone under in 2 out of 4. So that's a little bit of a difficult read. But yeah, if you're looking at this season's form, I think the under in her rebounds and her points are a good look. I personally probably think the under in her points is probably what I'm leaning towards the most. The under is minus 105 though, so I might be missing something, but let me put it on my short list of leans anyway. And then I'll research both of these plays before I put my final bets out. But yeah, the Aaliyah Boston. Let's see how this goes. All right, next up, we have Kelsey Mitchell. So Kelsey Mitchell looks like she's a three-point shooter. In terms of the best hit rate so far in all of her props, it's actually under 2.5 three-pointers made. So this could be a good look here. Under 2 odds are minus 144, so juice to the under. The under has cashed in 6 out of her last 9 games this season. She's averaging 1.8 makes per game. She does shoot 5.7 three-pointers as an average. So the attempts are going to be there. She's only shooting 33% though. So in order for her to make 3 of these, she needs to take at least 9 attempts, which is only done once. Based on these averages. So yeah, I don't mind this. Obviously, Chicago Sky allowing the second fewest three-pointers made on the season. So that under looks pretty good. The are not terrific. So that could be one for daily fantasy apps, but don't hate that. Her point line's at 16.5, 4 of 9 this season, averaging 14.1 points per game. Tough matchup here against the Chicago Sky as well. If we look at head-to-head matchups, She's played them 4 times and she's only cashed this line once. So another one where I'd be leaning to the under. Kelsey Mitchell unders. Look, that looks like a pretty decent play as well. I'll look into that. I don't want to take this whole team for unders though. That's my concern. But I'll be back in 3 seconds for you. Probably about 30 minutes for me. I'm going to go play a hide and seek, and then I'll come back and I'll finish the rest of this video. All right, I'm back 5 hours later for me, but 1 second for you. Where were we? Kelsey Mitchell. Looking at her points, bro. 16.5. She's covered this in 1 out of her last 4 games, averaging 16.25 points. Now, she's got a tough matchup against Chicago here. That's 1 of her 4 games against Chicago. My bad. This season, she's covered this line 4 out of 9 games, averaging 14.1 points per game. Okay. Distant over her last couple of games. Field goal percentage is not great, but the attempts and the volume is definitely there. Head-to-head is what I was looking at, where she's covered in 1 of 4 games against Chicago. Now that she's got Caitlin Clark on her team, I don't know if that helps her or not. Well, she's averaging 14.1 this season, 18.2 last season. So if anything, slowed her down in previous games. She's gone to the under against Chicago, and that's without Caitlin. Now that Caitlin's in the team, I can't help but lean to the under on this one, up against a gritty Chicago team. So yeah, probably lean to the under on Kelsey Mitchell's points here, based on what we're seeing. Matchup looks tough. She does a lot of her points from downtown, and Chicago, pretty good team at defending that. So yeah, I'm the under. Looks like checking out the 3-point prop, minus 146 to the under. She takes 5.7 attempts per game. She's hit 50% of the game. Well, actually, 75% of the game she's gone under this against Chicago. So, yeah, this is where I would lean to the under as well. So, leaning to the under in her points and her 3-pointers, which I think I might have covered off before I took a break because I already got that noted down. Duh. All right, let's go to the next girl. Man, I got to just commit some time to get this stuff done. All right, this is a good name. Katie Lou Samuelson. Now, she doesn't have any props available, but that name is awesome. Next up is Nalissa Smith. Now, if you got two capital letters in your first name, you got my attention. So let's talk about Nalissa here. Her points line is at 14.5. Outliers filtering towards the under. The under's cashed in 7 of her last 9 games. Line at 14.5. She's averaging 10.7 this season. Once again, tough matchup here against Chicago. Minutes, consistent though, 23.3 minutes is an average. She had her last game, she played 33 minutes. So then I'm probably a little bit hesitant to bet, given you don't know how much game time she's going to get. Unless you have an idea on what type of minutes she's going to be getting, then that can be a lean to a certain direction. Her rebound line's at 7.5. She's covered this in 4 out of her last 9 games. Has a good matchup here against Chicago, who's not the best at rebounding. So 4 out of her last 9. But again, her minutes are all over the place. She does average 7 rebounds per game against Chicago. But yeah, minutes are the main concern for me. So that's what I'm a little bit hesitant on. She scored well against Chicago in the past, last season. But so far this year, hasn't been cooking. Nalissa Smith. Christy Wallace. And we've got no props on her. So quite an interesting look. But the good thing is I do have quite a few leans on here. I've got about 6 leans, but doesn't mean I'll stop looking. The good thing there is only 1 game. So if I can get at least 2 plays out, that helps for your fantasy players. If you want to do a parlay, you can use it for that as well. But dive into this, see which plays I end up on, and I'll let you guys know. Sign up to my Winnable. You'll be notified when I do make that bet. Also, if this video seemed a bit choppy, stop and start, and I got disrupted. Pull up. It probably took me from about 7 hours from start to finish to get a 25-minute video out. But I know you guys appreciate all the hard work. I'll be looking at some MLB stuff as well. I'm not sure if we'll have enough time to create a video on it, but again, my Winnable is the place to go. But better luck. We do have the NBA Finals in about 6 days, so I'm hoping to release a video in the next couple of days to get a nice early look. So we'll see where we land in that one. But I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Up to the channel cause you're west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice and the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.